And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're discussing American Horror Story double feature, season 10, episode number 3. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a like, leave a comment. And this episode had a lot going on. There was so many twists and turns, little factions forming, different relationships taken off in terms of plot. And I want to start with the father-daughter situation. We have Harry and Alma basically bonding over their talents, this pill, what it does to you, and the idea of achieving greatness. It was a nice scene where they're driving in a car and he's basically like, look, you want to achieve, you want to be the best, I want to be the best, I'm going to help you through this. There's a little twist where she's like, yeah, we don't need mom anymore. That upsets him, but besides that, he's pretty much down with the whole situation. What'd you guys think of that dynamic and with that character?
I thought it was great because it was funny. He didn't even seem to be upset that for that long. He was like, what do we need her for? What? It's your mom. Yeah, but she's not really that great of a mom and she's not that good of a wife. I was like, holy shit. It was that whole dynamic where, once he started taking the pill, he was changing a little bit because prior to it, he was always wanting to hang out with his daughter, but then he became more blunt and very self-centered, and he wasn't really all that great of a dad, especially once he started taking that pill. But it's funny that now that they have something in common, he has to support her. So he's doing everything he can to do right by his daughter now that they're both kind of in that same boat.
Yeah, and I feel it's one of those situations where, like Spencer says, he feels he's doing right by her, but really, he's kind of pushing her in this horrible direction and everything. Like what he's doing was already wrong. The way he was neglecting his family and literally drinking people's blood to do his writing and everything. And now his daughter's down that path, and he's like, well, she is good at what she does. He's almost as bad as they go back to our review from Annette. He's almost as bad as Henry McHenry from Annette, but he's better at making excuses for his actions.
He's completely embraced the idea that there are people that are beneath them.
Yeah.
And he tells her, he says, like, yeah, nobody cares about these people. And even goes on to, if you're talentless, you become this nothing, monster that wanders around feasting on blood. And yeah, he is, 100%. He's completely just okay with it at this point.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, you see him do it, and how fast he does it is the real big surprise. Or he's just like, all right, okay, well, we'll get you some blood, though. You don't do the killing yourself yet. He's done that kind of thing. And he seems to only, his only reason for that seems to be like he sees it as too risky for her. And he kind of mentions that at some point, I believe.
Yeah, he's like, if this goes bad, I'll take the hit.
Well, and he even, if I'm not mistaken, she was like, well, what happens when I turn 18? He said, not even then. So he knows that he's culpable for her becoming what she is. So he's trying to do the right thing, but not really. Like, he's trying to do the best he can, I guess, given the situation.
Well, let's talk about it in terms of him getting blood for her. Boy, oh boy, was there an adventure this week? This was some classic twisted American Horror Story stuff. Like a simple, kill and take blood scene turns into this insane scenario where you discover this couple that make snuff films and like shit goes crazy. Like the whole time I'm just like, what's gonna happen next?
It turned into Pulp Fiction. That's what surprised me. Just out of nowhere, it felt like a Tarantino film.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy, because it went from because they were going after people off Craigslist who they were assuming were selling stolen stuff to support drug habits. So they didn't think nothing of it. But then when she started offering stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? And all of a sudden he gets clubbed in the back of the head, and it went way left from there.
I was wondering if they were, so she was trying to, because they were shooting this scene and or were going to. She was giving him a Viagra because she's like, no, I need you, ready to roll. And I kept thinking that there was going to be something with that, only because of the idea of blood and what that pill does, and and so my mind's working. I'm like, oh, what happens if he takes that pill? Does it do anything? Does it have any kind of weird reaction with the pill he is taking? I thought that's where they were going with it, but it wasn't. It was just him using his teeth to free himself and then kill them.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought there was going to be like another effect, and he was going to get stronger and like just kind of break out and and attack them from there. But instead he found another way around it. Like, but you weren't the only one that the scene kind of I think led you that direction without knowing it. Whether they intended to or not, that there might be some
Yeah.
other reaction.
Were introduced in the first couple episodes to his agent Ursula, and she ends up coming to town. She's so impressed with all these screenplays, but she knows something is off, and through her interactions with other people in the town, um, specifically Belle Noir and Austin Summers, and then Mikey, or is it Mickey? Mickey. She's like, all right, something's going on. There's no way there's just talent just being shat out in this town like this. So she finds out about the drug, and she starts playing a game, and there are multiple points where you think, oh, she's going to get taken out, or this and that's going to happen to her. But no, she's playing the game, and by the end, when Alma kills the police chief, she's just sitting there playing cards with her, clearly willing to help cover that up. She wants to go into business with the chemist, um, but now the chemist wants them all dead. So we essentially have two factions forming. Where Harry's going to play into this, I don't know. And will anybody jump ship? What do you guys think about Ursula, the chemist, and these two factions, and what's going on with them?
I thought it was the best part of the episode because I'm thinking the whole time, like you said, she sees this as nothing. She's not intimidated by anybody. She's basically able to manipulate Mickey. You have these people who are now coming after her because she's dangerous, but she also sees this golden opportunity to be the supplier to basically make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, creating all this entertainment. And meanwhile, like you said, the police chief dies, and she's just like, yeah, no big deal. Like, how fucked up is Hollywood that she was able to, like, all of this was just normal for her.
Yeah, exactly. That definitely spins into what I was thinking because it's another critique on the nature of their business. That she's this whole different monster outside of the scope of what they're used to dealing with. They really just don't know how to approach dealing with her. They like, of course, they want to kill her, but it seems like that's clearly not going to be easy for them.
And we don't, we get introduced to the chemist, and we know that she's developed these pills, and that only she knows the recipe. At least that's what she says. It's not written down anywhere, but we don't get any like background. We don't know the true origins. We don't know when she started manufacturing them, giving them out, who she chose first. Like, there's a lot of mystery. Maybe we'll get the answers, maybe we won't. But I am curious to what her, outside of Austin and Noir, what other connections or people could she bring in to get the job done? I was thinking, was it me, or what? Did you think they were alluding to Tarantino having taken the pill?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like, the scope of this thing is actually might be pretty big, and what connections she may in fact actually have. I'm curious if they'll explore that.
Yeah, because they said that he doesn't, although he could do it, he doesn't want to do it anymore. So he wants to hire somebody else outside to do it. So, like you said, that kind of implies that it's he was taking it as well. So I would, wholeheartedly believe that, yeah, he was one of the ones too. But Belle Noir and Evan Peters' character, whose name still escapes me every time, even though you said
Austin
it.
Summers.
There we go. But it's crazy because they can't be the only two famous people that have done it. What was trying to remember the painter's name. There's a painter that comes there too.
Yeah, I didn't write his name
And
down.
I'm assuming just by what he said that whether he's taking it or not, which he may or may not be, he talked about normally he comes during the summer. That even though there is more people there, he's still able to get a lot accomplished. But he likes it better in the winter. So maybe, like Tarantino and these other people, they come during the summer. They're not just there during the time that Belle Noir and Austin Summers are there. So there could be multiple people who are doing this. It's just these are the ones that the point of view we're getting is from those characters.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering about this too. That how well, at least I was in previous episodes, and I think they all but confirmed it. How far does it stretch out? Like I think we asked the question last episode too. Like is this all of Hollywood or most of it? And it seems clear, with the Tarantino nod there, that there are a lot of celebrities and writers and things that are taking this medicine, well, this pill, and that brings up the question also, like, is there going to be another faction, or are they going to call in some favors for some other people that want to keep this pill more underground so that they can have so that they're unique in some way? Because I can imagine your Quentin Tarantino's and whatnot. These are people that wouldn't, or Christopher Nolan's or whoever. These are people who wouldn't want to be made a dime a dozen. The way that she wants to make them, because she just wants to create a content mill that produces great writers.
Yeah, there's so much
Well,
breakdown of Hollywood and the system in these episodes. Some like other little messages and meanings behind certain things.
well, I think it's also implying that whether it is or not, I don't know, but it feels like it's implying that the people who are the best of the best are taking this. So yes, there are some people who aren't great, but the ones like, the Tarantino, the Nolans, like these people who considered to be the best in their field, I think that they're implying that they're the ones taking it. So although this chemist is saying, I'm the only one with the recipe or whatever, I don't think that's true, because she might be the only one on the East Coast. So anybody who works out of New York or anything like that probably comes up through there. But I'm imagining that there's probably a West Coast source also. So,
Well,
some small town in, oh, well, we were talking about how could the two things tie into each other? That could be it, because the desert one's the next episode. The next, so maybe that'll tie in.
maybe it's from Aliens. That's where the pill. I mean, for real. I'm being serious. Maybe it'll tie into that. Because my biggest question with the chemist is she doesn't seem to live she doesn't have a lot of stuff. Like her house is like, all right, sensible little setup. What's the point of giving these pills out? Do you just enjoy art and literature, or is there something else going on? Or why aren't you taking a bigger cut? I have a lot of these questions for that character. I'm like, yeah, why aren't you? You could literally tell them, I want half of everything, or otherwise you don't get these pills. You know what I mean? Like she could, and they would probably, be like, yeah, sure. So I am
Yeah.
curious to find more out about her.
Well, and like you said, if she's the only one with the recipe and that was true, they would have no other choice. It's not, heroin, crack, coke. Like they can't go down the street and get it from anybody. If she's the only one with those pills, then they wouldn't have a choice to be able to fuel their habits. And they also mentioned in one of the previous episodes that once you start taking it, like you can't not take it and be successful. If you're not taking it, you basically hit a wall and you can get nothing done. So it's like they can't just take it for a little bit and then just stop. I mean, they're like creatively, they're done. So they would have to continue to take it. So yeah, like you said, she could request anything and they would still be probably culpable and, contribute to whatever they wanted, whatever she wanted. They would give her whatever. But for her to not really want anything, I'm starting to think now after this episode that it's going to tie into the Alien season.
Yeah, and that would make sense, because where would she come up with this incredibly unique formula that seems to transform people in a way? like she maybe came across, like a crashed ship or something, or found one of the alien corpses, or some technology that they have or something, and like we may see her towards the end of the second half of the season as like a researcher, or maybe as like what she is, a chemist, but working for like a government agency or something, and then it spins back into this season of the first half of the season.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm curious if that's what they're gonna do. I think they might. That was something we discussed in the last review for the first couple episodes. So I made a note. I brought it up before we started recording. I wanted to talk about a very specific scene because I rewound it and rewatched it. It's a brutal scene, but man, it was shot beautifully. It's when Macaulay Culkin's character needs to feed, and he goes under the dock, and there's a guy there that he knows, and the guy thinks he's trying to steal from him, maybe drugs or something. And he just keeps going after this dude, and the dude doesn't want to fight really. And then there's a point where he could kill Macaulay Culkin or Mickey, but he doesn't. But he's so hungry and he needs to feed, and he's just doing everything he can to feed. And the way that it's shot, and then he finally slashes the dude's like Achilles and pulls him down and fucking starts feeding, and the blood goes out in the ocean. That entire scene is just so primal, and I loved everything about the way it was shot. And I don't know, it just stuck out to me. It was one of those scenes where I'm like, wow, that's just some good ass, like filmmaking. Anything? Yeah, yeah. Any thoughts on that, or any other scenes that you saw?
Well, it shows that not only does it make them more creative, but they also the normal vampiric kind of want and need. Hold on. Go on. I was getting a phone call that was beeping in. I was like, God damn it. I don't know if it was cutting my voice out or not. But they the vampiric, that thirst makes them so strong that they can power through all of it. Like, he's getting drowned on the side, and this guy's significantly larger than him, just like ragdolling him around, and he was able to get control and take care of him. Same
I
thing.
just love the desperation. Like, he's just he wants the
Yeah.
blood so bad, and he's getting his ass whooped, but he's just clawing, and this dude does not want to kill him. Like, he legitimately doesn't. And like I said, it was just one of those scenes where I was just impressed by the way it was shot, the acting, everything.
Yeah,
like Spencer said, there's this parallel with like actual vampirism, or honestly any sort of intense drug use, where there's this desperation, and that allows him to fight through that, through just getting the crap kicked out of him and nearly drowned and everything, because he needs this so bad.
well, you even look at the dad, who's once again named, I know the actor's name. His name's
Harry.
Finn. Yeah, there you go. I kept wanting to say Henry, but I was like, that's a different movie we just watched. But he,
different movie, same dude.
like, he's not that big of a guy, and the snuff film people, like, that was a big dude. So for him to just, able to fight his way through that, and I mean, no guy's big enough to stop a bullet, so that's a little different. But he was able to, fight through that. And some of the other people they're fighting are also, drug addicts. So those guys are just as strong. So for them to be able to just fight through all of them does imply that this vampiric thirst, or this blood thirst that they're having, is even stronger than any drug that's being used currently.
Doris is only in like one scene, or couple scenes. She found Alma drinking the blood. She freaks out. She's washing her. I meant to bring it up last week, and I don't think I did. Her obsession with Lyme disease. I don't know. It keeps coming up. It came up again in this episode. I'm curious if there'll be some kind of payoff for that. But she ends up collapsing because the police want to take her daughter in. She's pregnant. They take her to a hospital, and Harry's like, look, we're going to go back to New York. Don't worry about it. Heal up. Of course, they lied to her. She's not in the rest of the episode. She's sort of, missing, and she's in the hospital. So when she gets better, when she comes back, How will that play in? We did get some confirmation this week that Noir does, in fact, like feeding on when she thinks the younger you are, the better the blood, and I guess the more it inspires her. So that is why she likes, I guess, baby blood. Will that play a role? Where do you think Doris fits in the final 3 episodes?
I think she's like House. Uh, everything is lupus. She thinks everything is Lyme disease.
Just a gag. It might be actually.
Or the writers were just really lazy and couldn't think of any other diseases.
Because she says it in the first 2 episodes. She says it like, I'm not joking, like 5 or 6 times, like it comes up, and then it came up again in this one, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like what? Where's this going?
She just
well, yeah, and it seemed like like a common concerned parent thing because we've all known that person. I think or seen examples of someone who just really is trying to figure things out, and they latch to this one idea of like oh, clearly it's Lyme disease. It's got to be Lyme disease.
WebMD, maybe
Yeah.
who's constantly on WebMD and just self-diagnosing.
A very dense episode. It was funny. We were talking last week at the end of the second episode. We're like, well, there's not much more they can really do. The way it ended, and then it's like, oh shit. They introduced new characters and all new dynamics. So this was the midpoint. This would have been the big sort of, clicking over and heading into the, getting ready for the third act. So 3 left of this story, and we'll see where it goes. Do y'all have any other thoughts or anything else you want to talk about regarding American Horror Story this week?
Well, I think that's a big deal if they go into the second half, the last 4 episodes, and they tie things together, because that would mean that they don't really have to answer certain questions just yet. So knowing whether or not they're going to do that, I think will be a big deal. And come episode 6, if there are some things that are unanswered still, my assumption will be it doesn't have to be confirmed. They can just be like, fuck it, it wasn't that important.
Yeah,
but
because the series typically, it depends on the season. Some seasons wrap up beautifully. You're like, wow, that was all. And then some of them, you're like, that shit didn't make any sense. Like you can tell that they changed directions halfway through the season or during the writing. This one's so short, I can't imagine them not having worked out the whole plot and knowing where everything's going. But they're typically hit or miss for me. The seasons, they always have cool shit in them that I like, but in terms of overarching story, it there's a lot of misses. I'll just say that.
That's very true. But if they don't answer everything, if they just wrap it up neatly, that'd be great, because horror is one of those rare genres that can work well with, in fact, better sometimes with a lot of questions not answered. But it's been surprising that they're able to go at this breakneck pace, but it doesn't feel like everything has been rushed out.
No, I've enjoyed the pacing of all 3 episodes. Any other thoughts?
I think that's it for me.
Nope.
Alrighty. So yeah, American Horror Story. There's 3 more for this particular story, and then we'll get the final 4, which maybe ties in. I think they will, but we'll find out. We appreciate everyone listening. Like I said, leave a comment if you have any thoughts yourself. Upvote, and if you've not subscribed, please do so. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.